Hey guys, it's time for another Math Easy solution. What we're going to do today is go over free agency and how contracts work in the NBA. There's a lot of drama and a lot of free agency going on right now, so I'm going to break down a few of the terms and see some examples of different types of contracts. So the very first concept here is a really basic one, but it's really important. It's the salary cap. It's basically a limit on how much a team can pay its players each year. So there's two types of caps. The soft cap, it may be exceeded for that year for many different reasons. We'll go over some in a second. Hard cap means that it cannot be exceeded no matter what. So in the NBA, you would notice that it uses a soft salary cap. So it can get exceeded, and most commonly using the Larry Bird exception. Basically what that means is that any team is allowed to exceed the salary cap to re-sign their own free agents at an amount up to the maximum salary. So they can't re-sign another player from a different team, which will make them go over the cap. They have to use the Larry Bird exception. There are a couple others, but this is the most common one. But of course, the team would be subject to the luxury tax, meaning they'd have to pay extra fee for going over the salary limit. So another one is unrestricted compared to restricted free agent. So an unrestricted free agent is allowed to choose any team to sign with. It doesn't matter. But a restricted free agent, he can choose a team, but his original team has the option to match the offer and retain the player. So basically, if a team offers him a certain deal and he signs the contract, his team can pay the exact same amount but retain him. Whereas if he was an unrestricted free agent, he can decide any of the two teams. So another one is a team option. This means that the option to extend the length of the contract during the option year. So what will happen is you have a 3-year contract, and then the 4th year is an option year. The team has the option to either take that year or just cancel it. And a player option is the same thing, except the player has the option to extend the length of the contract during that one option year. Early termination, this gives the player the option to terminate his contract early and just become a free agent. So a really big one here is a maximum contract. What is a maximum contract, and how can we determine how to calculate it? Basically, it's the maximum that a player can receive from a team, and it differs quite a bit based on many different circumstances. So first one here is league experience. So what you're going to notice here is that depending on how many years in the league, you get a percent of the salary cap, which is that's the maximum you're allowed to get. So let's say in this example here, when signing a maximum contract, the length of the contract, it's important when calculating the salary. So when you calculate, let's say 25%, because the player is in his 4th year, that's the player's first year on the contract. And then any years after that, he'll get an increase in salary. So this figure 1 is to calculate the first year in a maximum contract. So let's just take a look at a quick example. So the annual salary cap is $80 million. An 11th year free agent signs a 1-year max deal. How much money will he earn if he signs the contract? So basically we go back up and we look at this. Because he's an 11th year player, he can receive 35% of the salary cap if he signs a maximum deal. So what we do is we take the 80 million and we simply multiply it by the 35%, which is 0.35. That's going to give us 28 million. That's 28 million on the contract because it's following the figure here. So, but now what we need to do is look at multi-year maximum contracts because it changes per year. He will receive a raise in salary after each year. The base amount of the salary is calculated by the previous table and will increase by either 7.5 or 4.5% of that first year. So what we need to look at here in the red, a free agent signing with his current team, this is the most important, his current team, he will receive an annual increase of 7.5% of the first year. And then a player signing with a different team will increase his salary per year by 4.5% of the first year. This is to encourage players to stay with their own team. That's what the NBA wants. They like players to stay with their own team, make it fair. So what we're going to do is look at a quick example. So now we have a fourth-year player. He's offered a maximum contract by his current team and by another team. So if the salary cap is still $80 million, what we need to do is see how much money he's eligible to receive. So first we're going to notice that it's the fourth year. So if we go back up top, we notice that it's in the first bracket. So it's 25% of the salary cap. So if it's 25% of 80 million, you're going to notice that in both cases here, it's 20 million. But what you're going to see is that on the current team, the second year, he's going to get 1.5 million raise from the first year. That's because it's a 7.5% increase. And then on the other side, it's just 900,000 more, which is 4.5% increase. So, and one more thing you're going to notice is that when it goes from year to year, it only increases by the same amount. So it increases 900,000, then another 9, and then another 9. It only increases from that first year. It does not compound. That's very important. Same with the current team here. It does not compound. It only increases by 1.5 million, which is 7.5% of the very first year on the contract. So, one other thing you're going to notice is that on the current team, there's 5 years on the max deal. And then on the other team, any other team, it's only 4 years. That is because the maximum length of a contract is 5 years when you sign with your own team, but if it's a different team, there's a limit of 4 years. That's another big reason why it encourages you to stay on your same team. Look at the difference in the total salary here. It's quite a bit different. So there is one exception to the base salary. We're going to just look at an example so we can look through it really easily. So the fourth-year player from the previous example, let's say he completes his 5-year maximum deal and he earns every penny of his 115 million. So what if he re-signs with his current team for another 5-year maximum contract? So after he finishes that whole contract, you're going to notice that he's played a total of 8 seasons. That means that on that figure, he's on the second part of the bracket, which means he's eligible to receive 30% of the salary cap in the first year of his new contract. So if the salary cap is still 80 million, that means the player's base salary in the first year, it should be 24 million. But the key thing is that a player may not receive less money than his previous season if he's signing a maximum contract. So what you see here is that on the 5th year, he got 26 million. But if he's signing another maximum contract, that means he would start out with 24 million, which is less. The league doesn't like that, so what they do is they implement a rule, and it goes like this. The first year of a maximum contract will either be calculated from figure 1, like we did previously, or it'll be 105% of the player's most recent annual salary. So his new base salary, which will be whichever is higher. So in that previous case, instead of taking the 30%, what he does is he gets 5% extra from his 26 million, which is the final year of his max deal. This means he will make 27,300,000 in the first year of his contract, and he will get an annual increase of 7.5% from the first year value. So there's also a lot more things to do with it, with the maximum contracts and little, ways that you can get around certain things. But for the most part, that's pretty much the majority of what we need to look at. There are some little things else, but it's not that big of a deal. So that's pretty much it for today. We might make another video going through a little bit of smaller details, but for now, that's going to be done for this video, guys. Thanks.